The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Link. Woo!
Okay, yes, that was a lot.
So my name is Kai Smith. I'll have our other co-hosts introduce themselves a little bit later, but I am one of your co-hosts. I'm the prevention training. What am I? I'm a coordinator at APLA Health.
You're one of us.
And this is The Link. The Link is a collaboration between Pyro Media Network and APLA Health. And of course, we get our funding by the CDC. So now I want my wonderful, amazing co-hosts to introduce themselves, even though you all know them, and then tell us how you're doing today.
Well, what it do? I was gonna let Mr. Wonderful and Amazing himself go first, but
I love that
doing Savvy, prevention training specialist for the social and sexual networks, aka networks team here at APLA Health. Follow us at the networks.apla.
And how are you today?
I'm popping.
What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite prevention training specialist of our Swab and Chill, Daniel J. I'm here with the head wrap, I'm here with the nails, I'm here with the fit, I'm here with the face, but I'm also here with the fabulous, the wonderful, the awesome and amazing team that I get to work with every day, Kai and Dwayne. So what's going on, y'all?
What's good?
How are you doing today?
Monochromatic and delicious.
Everyone's wearing black and white but me, and I didn't get this memo.
We didn't have a memo to give, and just give us a black and white type of day. I needed something to go with my nails.
And that was
I'm biracial.
My next session is actually very favorite.
You are the black and white.
I am the black and white.
You are the black and white.
Oh, hey,
Lord. Hi, Joseph. So, yes, this is The Link. Hi, everyone. Welcome. As you can see, we have fun here. We want you to have fun with us. Today's episode is a little interesting. We're going to be a little bit different. They're doing looks. Yes, I'm in my same old jacket and t-shirt. Thanks, Joseph, for pointing it out. No, I'm
He
kidding.
said y'all.
Thank you.
He didn't say two y'all. He said y'all. That's all y'all.
But today's going to be a little bit of a different day in the sense of I'm going to be quizzing these two a little bit later. I know.
I did not study.
Okay,
I know it's the best part. But
quiz.
today's episode is No Shave November, Mow-Vember, men's health and how we talk about it. And we're going to have a really great kind of conversation relating to all of this. But before we even get into that, what's popping? What's happening in the world? What is on the news and the television and the social medias and the Twitters?
Britney is free. Okay, Britney Spears is free. She is officially out of her conservatorship, honey. And she is ready to do all of the things that she should not do, like having another baby.
Oh, did you see that post? Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, she's ready.
So apparently, she posted on her Instagram, I believe, that she wants to have another baby. Now, mind you, she's already going through, she's engaged to the boyfriend, right? They about to get married. I think she blocked the mama on social media, which I thought was funny. Jamie Lynn ain't got no access to Britney. But I am happy for Britney. I am happy that she is a free bird. However, I am hoping that these years of prisonship has not affected her mentally in a way where now she is like a trapped college student where now you have freedom and now you just
don't know what
you
to
buck
do.
wild and don't know what the hell you're gonna do because you're trying to find yourself again. You know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily think that you should be finding yourself in a new child. But that's just my opinion. But we're glad that you're free, Brittany. We're glad that your ass is free.
So crazy, Kwame.
I mean, I think everyone in the world, I feel like, especially in the gay community, because, we've all at one point in our lives have used the Britney song to dance our life away. But so she's free, and I think it's a long time coming. And this was purely based off of her fans pushing the Free Britney movement. If that didn't exist, none of us would have really known because she didn't say anything. The people around her didn't really talk about it.
This is what scares me about the whole Britney thing. Beyond the Britney movement, she had fans that were like private investigators. To be so enthralled with a persona, with a person, with a celebrity, where you know how they tweet, how they post, and what they're prone to use, and what emojis they don't use, and what emojis. I mean, they really knew something was wrong simply by the posts that she had and the ones that she didn't. So it's a little scary, but we are thankful for you because you were onto something and you were correct.
And I think this also sets a really good precedent for conservatorships for other people, right? This was a woman who was basically rich, famous. Anything she did, the world was watching. Britney Spears in particular, there wasn't a move she couldn't make for at least 4 or 5 years that the world didn't talk about. And she still kind of fell under the radar in this sense and was taken advantage of. So for people who aren't Britney Spears level, who might not have the support of millions of fans around the world and all the gays basically out there screaming at judges and things, this is really going to set precedent in how people look at conservatorship. So yes, it's a huge victory for Britney, but also for other people in the world who are kind of trapped in conservatorship similar to this. So.
And it's funny, just a little tangent. The same show that kind of brought light to the Free Britney movement, it was an FX show, I forget the name of the show, but they're also doing an episode dedicated to Janet Jackson and the whole Super Bowl.
Woo! That's a conversation we need.
That is going to be a very interesting episode.
Documentary.
Yeah, I think it's a documentary on her. She was like, I'm going to take charge. Wait, let me do my Janet voice. I'm going to take charge. And I'm going to. It's still not soft enough.
If you go too soft, they're not going to hear you.
And I'm gonna make my biopic before I leave this earth because you won't do me how you tried to do my big brother.
I like the
him,
original.
God rest his soul.
Stop.
But you won't do that to me.
Yeah, I'm so done. Moving on. What else is on the docket for?
So something that I think not the world, at least here in America, we've been really, really talking about since Friday, Astroworld.
Oh God.
So if you don't know what happened on Friday, Travis Scott.
Travis Scott?
I said Travis Scott.
Is that?
That's not his name.
That is his name.
Is this his name? Everyone, I've been so bad with names today. So Travis Scott had it was a 2-day music festival called Astroworld. And some people might have seen some of the social media posts, but people died. I believe the number now is up to about 10 to 15 people have died. The youngest being a 10-year-old, the oldest being 27. So people went to this concert and died.
Well, I think as of last week, I don't know if it's that high. I know they added the 9th death.
Today they announced the 10-year-old who passed.
This weekend or this week?
Today.
Today. So yeah, it's 10 now.
So the festival people were going, and there was a lot of people who were trampled. There were people who got dehydrated, and they weren't prepared for the amount of people. There was 50,000 people at this festival. And you can see videos of when people were rushing in and just running and trampling people and walking over people during Travis. Why does Travis Scott feel like the wrong name to say? During his performance around like 9:30, there was a huge surge of people to the stage towards him. And during the time, there was even, the concert was stopped so ambulance could get in to help people. There's an instance where one of the security guards was actually pricked with something and then almost died, but needed Narcan. So that might have been a drug overdose that happened somehow. There's an article I read where there was a woman who was an ICU nurse who ended up passing out because she was trampled when she came back to wherever she was with the other security, and she was with the other medics. The other medics didn't even know how to do CPR, and there were people who were laying there who were not breathing. So there's a lot of lawsuits happening right now. There's a lot really going on, and there's calling into question about safety of these concerts. Did Travis kind of incite this? Are artists inciting this when they're telling people to get really hyped up and really exciting? So I want to hear what both of y'all feel, right? We're young people. We go to concerts. So how do y'all feel?
I mean, well, he really has a history of this anyway. Like in 2015, he was actually sued and pled guilty to charges of reckless conduct after he encouraged his fans at Lollapalooza in Chicago. Are y'all familiar with that?
I don't.
But anyway, he encouraged them to climb over the security barricades and onto the stage. And then 2 years later after that, so in 2017, he was sued by a fan who said he had became paralyzed after being pushed. Oh, he was pushed off a third-story building and then dragged on stage while the rapper performed in Manhattan. So like Travis Scott is like known for that wild stuff. Okay. So
that's just
I think when you go to a Travis Scott concert, if you're like a diehard fan, then you kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Oh
I mean, not to die, obviously not. But I mean, like, stuff gets real crazy. It gets real crazy.
But should it though?
I mean, I feel like this. At the end of the day, when you look at the venue, when you look at production, like there are things that you have to adhere by. Okay, you have to know what your limit is. You have to know what your safety routes are. You have to know like what are the emergency, protocols for an event like this. I was reading an article, and I think one of the articles said that even the fire chief wasn't even allowed into the venue to do a proper fire check as far as safety and things, which I didn't even think was legal. I thought like when a fire chief comes and say, "I got to inspect your building," you got to open it. I didn't know that you can deny the fire chief from getting in twice.
And I do know too, kind of with that, they actually got shut down a lot sooner than what they did. Apparently when they were told they need to end the concert, it went on for another about 45 minutes. And the reason why one of the promoters said it was because if they were to cancel the show, they would have had a riot of 50,000 people, which that might have happened. But I mean, they basically at that point were already having the same kind of effect with people trampling. And some of these videos you can see online. I don't recommend it, but if you have seen it, just take my word for it. You can see people in masses of waves just running over. They fall, and then the crowd just keeps coming, and they were stepped on, and they were trampled. Yeah. So that terrifies me. So I don't know if I'll be going to any large-scale concert events ever again.
I do want to say, though, in regards to Travis Scott, I think that on one hand, as an artist, I don't necessarily think that the sole responsibility should be on him as an artist, at the end of the day. But I do feel like for artists like him who have incited this type of energy, this type of rambunctious whatever, there should be a penalty for him in doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
But on the other hand, if I had three hands, if you know that he's prone to do this, why book him? Right.
Wait.
Where's the camera?
I work with Chris. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you know that he's prone to do this, why book him?
Yeah.
Like, why is this a shock? Why is this like, oh my God?
He's been sued twice, for conduct like this. And you're still going to allow him to perform? I mean, technically, I guess the mayor did think he was prepared, because I read that like there was 505 security staff members, like 91 armed private security and 76 off-duty officers, on top of 500 on-duty Houston police officers at the festival. So they apparently took precaution considering the history. Plus, I think I read that Travis knows the mayor, so I think that gave him a little,
But these are one of those instances where I've said in the past, as a celebrity, you have a level of responsibility.
Yeah.
Tell
your fans to chill out.
Selena's whole stage was about to crumble down, and people was about to, and all she had to do was get up there and be like, shh. She took responsibility for the moment. She knew that the crowd would listen to her. And there are other artists out there that have done the very same thing, where they've been a part of kind of calming the crowd down and de-escalating a situation.
Well, he yelled at them, chill out.
But so for anyone out there, if you're going to be going out to any concerts, because especially, now that COVID restrictions are lifting, there's a lot more festivals happening, a lot more concerts that are happening. Please take precaution. Please be careful. I know we want to sit in the front with our favorites. Don't rush the front if everyone else is, really be mindful and just kind of be aware as best you can. But moving on, Dwayne, what you got for us?
I mean, our problematic Napoleon is back. The baby has some baby mama drama. Okay, so
you call him Napoleon because he's short?
Absolutely,
I love it.
So he booted out his baby mother, Danny Lay, singer, songwriter. Some would say.
She was a dancer.
Some would say.
All right.
I think it was like 2 nights ago it was actually last night on the 15th. Apparently, he says that she assaulted him twice on Sunday night and then again on Monday night. He called the cops on her on both nights and recorded her because he felt unsafe. And I mean, I kind of like, I get it. Like we've seen this in like, well, at least I've seen it in like Black households and just other households in general where somebody is like, oh, like I'm a Black man and I can't, I don't want her to be like, I put my hands on her and da 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 da. He's already under siege with the whole homophobic slurs and what's the word I'm looking for?
Things.
And
things.
It's always something.
Okay,
Always
it's
something.
very much something
Right.
with the baby. But, the cops came through and he was on live with his ignorant self while she was feeding the baby in the first place. I don't know what is going on, but it's just a hot ghetto mess. Like, have y'all seen it? What y'all think?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything. But what I will say is, obviously, I don't know any information, but 1 in 4 men do experience domestic violence from their partners, being their partner, being a woman. So I can't speak on, what happened or what didn't happen. But that doesn't mean that we can talk negatively or, fight back kind of things. It's definitely one of those things. If your relationship or anything like that feels toxic, problematic, if it is getting dangerous, then there is a way to separate yourself and do it safely. I don't know the specifics, but it doesn't sit well sometimes.
So I have an unpopular opinion.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, she's the problem.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. It's all bad.
I am not for domestic violence for anybody.
Mhm.
Okay. But as a dude, I think it's very bitch made that you want to cry domestic violence on one hand, but yet you're on your social media degrading these women, talking about them and dragging them for filth. Like, you literally had a whole Instagram conversation with a chick who was like, you thought you was my girl, but you wasn't nothing but side chick. And then you post another video later on with you kissing some totally different girl, like slapping to death. So, I mean, I get it. Domestic violence is bad. People should not put their hands on anybody else, especially when you cannot control what the reaction is going to be. So if she was violenting him, she's definitely in the wrong. And she should reap whatever repercussions are coming to her for that.
Oh, well, she then got up out of town. She didn't hit a jet Monday afternoon, and she is gone. Her and the baby.
But as far as the baby is concerned,
The baby's baby.
Honey,
The baby's baby, yes.
I care this much about him and what he got going on.
Get closer.
That much.
You nails. That's so nice. But yeah, I think kind of echoing with Daniel, domestic violence is never the answer. It's never kind of right in a relationship. If that is kind of happening in your household, in your family, in your relationship, it's one of those instances. Take a step back. Is this a healthy place to be in? I will not say that he deserves domestic violence either, but I also can recognize
Maybe not
that
domestic.
I can
He might deserve to get his ass whipped by somebody.
I would never wish violence on anyone, but I will say no one deserves to be in a spot where they don't feel safe in their own home. So I think that's where I'll end on my opinion on that.
If anybody's trying to find him he live in North Carolina somewhere, y'all can figure it out from there.
Joseph said he wanted to see my nails, so those are the nails.
Aren't they gorgeous?
She came with the claws today.
Yeah.
All right, so we only have about a minute or so left. Is there anything else that has been happening in the world that we want to talk about?
My titties shrunk.
I do want to hit up just one thing that on Netflix that I thought was interesting. So for those of you who don't know, there's this new I think it's a series or a short whatever. It's called Passing, and it's about the idea of Black folks who are so light skinned that they're able to pass as white. What are the names of the actresses in this?
Tessa Thompson and I'm gonna look it up. Keep talking.
Yeah. So Tessa Thompson plays a love interest. She is obviously a darker hued woman in this scenario who cannot pass, and then she has this interest of a woman who is married to a white man.
Ruth Negga.
Who
Negga.
Ruth Negga. Who said what? That's her name.
That's her name.
That's her name, Ruth Negga. Who can pass as white. And it has been stirring a lot of controversy for a lot of mixed race individuals, such as Kai and myself.
I feel away.
Because for those of you who may live in the South, especially in the Louisiana, New Orleans area, there's a term called passé blanc, which it talks about passing as white, and is a huge discussion amongst a lot of Creole folks who are mixed with Black and French or Black or whatever. I have not seen it yet. I do plan on watching it just because I want to get some context on what it is and what it's about and how the story goes. But what are your thoughts, Kai?
I would say if you were interested, read the book before you watch it. And here's another reason why my issue with this is I do think this is actually a valid topic. This is a really kind of big topic when we talk about the culture of ADOS, American Descendants of Slaves, especially in the 1920s when we had this huge migration of Black people from the South to the North. We did see a lot of the lighter skin, the people who maybe their slave master was their parent, so they kind of came off looking very Kai-like. They can kind of navigate in a different way. And there were whole families who went through life looking like me and saying they were white and were able to kind of do that. I have family members who are lighter skinned than I am, and they won't tell people that they're Black because they consider themselves passing. It's a real thing. My issue with it is the director and the person who chose to tell the story, I don't feel has, or isn't the right person to tell it.
Why, Kai? Do tell.
She's on.
Say it.
Say it.
So I'm also a person, I would never take away someone's Blackness, but being 1/16th African American and saying you're passing to me sounds really, really weird. So the director is a woman who is 1/16th Black. So that means her great grandparent was Black, and they are not. So I just feel like people telling the story aren't. The actresses are great actresses, and I've heard a lot of really positive things on it. I just feel like there's a better way to have this conversation with better people representing. But read the book. It's a great book, and that's what it's based off of.
Okay.
And moving on.
And that is what's popping. Woo! That's a whole different. Me and Daniel had this full conversation about that documentary, and I feel up
Maybe
100
that's an
different
episode.
ways.
Maybe
That's
that could
an
be an
entire
episode.
different
That's
episode.
an episode.
Are you passing?
You shouldn't have to. You don't need to. Just.
Period. But we can get into that.
Colorism post the millennium.
But let's get into the topic today of men's health. No Shave November. No Shave Movember. Let's talk about it. So before we dive into the fun stuff, I guess it's all fun. Let's talk about what it is. So a lot of you might know in November, we always hear, especially people who have facial hair, men identifying people say they are participating in a No Shave November, where basically they decide they just don't want to shave. But there's actually a reason for this. No Shave November was started officially in 2009 by a family called the Hill family. Their father died in 2007 of cancer. So what they decided is they wanted to create a foundation in memory of him. And so what this foundation does is in the month of November, they're saying for anyone who does shave, buy shaving products, anything like that, don't spend that money on that. Don't shave, and use that money to donate to a cancer research facility or cancer hospital or something like that to kind of improve people who are living with cancer, and also to remind people that a lot of times a lot of the side effects of cancer treatment is the loss of hair. So that was kind of one of the big things that started. There's also something else called Mow-Vember, which is also has a lot to do with health and men's health, specifically for cancer, but also for mental health, right? We don't always talk about, lately, especially here, we talk about mental health for men. But in the general societal terms, we don't talk about mental health in terms of men. When we think of mental health, normally we think of, this is definitely a stereotype. It's the white girl kind of thing. The people who seek out mental health are the teenage white girls or white women, millennial white women, things like that. We know that's not true, but statistically, we do know men are less likely to receive mental health. So that is kind of how it all started. So before we get into it, do either of you participate in No Shave November?
Depends.
Have you ever participated?
I have participated in No Shave.
And it doesn't have to be the donation part either, just the not shaving.
Yeah, I participated in the no shaving, and I do donate pretty much every year to the cause. However, I have found that not shaving and growing the beard for me I
Doesn't
just
fit with your
physically
fantasy.
can't do it because the itching and the maintenance of having that on my face is like insane for me. It just makes me want to rip my entire skin off and hang it on the wall for 30 days. So I still shave during the month, but I do
If
still
you have
donate.
a picture of bearded Daniel, I would
I've seen
love
Daniel with
to
facial
see
hair.
it.
I do have a bearded picture.
I'm so excited. But as far as I'm concerned, certain parts of my body, I will participate
And that's great.
in No Shave November.
Love that, cause same.
But like as far as like maybe my pits, because you know hygiene is a big thing for me. I like to smell good, look good, sound good. You know, so these pits, they can only do so much. Same thing with this torso. Now I did let it grow out this year for my Halloween costume, as I was outside of the Wakanda costume that I showed y'all. I was Prince.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Prince had a lot of body hair, so I had to grow that out. But all that is gone now. So the only thing that I'm participating in right now is currently my pubes and my facial hair.
And I don't grow much body hair just in general. And I barely and I barely look, everyone, I haven't shaved in probably 6 or 7 months, and this is as best as we get.
Yes,
so you know,
come on, chin strap.
she's a twink a little bit, so it happens. So yeah, so that's it.
For the rest of us bears over here,
Okay.
that grow body hair like, you know, water runs out of a faucet.
So now that we kind of know what it is, let's talk about the general idea of why it happens. Do you think that No Shave November is actually important in the sense of, do you think we talk enough about men's health and things in particular to things like cancer or even mental health in general? And I know we have June as Men's Health Month, but even then we don't really have these conversations. Do you feel that we as Americans, as a society, take it seriously for men?
I think that, well, specifically with something like No Shave November, I think a lot of white men get involved with it because we do see a lot of white men that, you know, unfortunately get cancer. However, when we look at the African American community and even the Latino community, there are still a lot of cancer.
I have statistics for that,
cases
everyone.
and things of that nature. Specifically, when we look at prostate cancer, testicular cancer, liver disease, and lung cancer. You know, those are really, really, really high in Black communities, Black and brown communities. And I think, is it important? Do men take it as seriously? I don't think in the Black and brown community we take it as seriously until something happens. We don't really, you know, we don't go and get the prostate checked, you know, and 9 times out of 10, when you go to a doctor, they'll tell you, you know, when you hit 40, you're supposed to get that.
40,
but
50.
Well, 40 or 50, but if you are Black or brown, you actually need to be doing it around 30, 35 because it can hit us much younger in our life. And for instance, you can have prostate cancer for a really long time with no symptoms. And then all of a sudden it's aggressive and you just, you're bedridden, you know? So I do think that from the Black and brown side, we need to be more aware of what's happening with our bodies and be a lot more proactive in our health.
What about you doing?
I mean, I feel like it varies between like a LGBTQ and hetero thing.
Look at these intersectionalities we're talking about today.
Because all the time.
All the time.
You're on Zoom.
This bearded picture of me.
Yes, share. But as I was saying, I feel like it differs between like heterosexual men and LGBTQ men. I feel like LGBTQ men, we might take our health a little bit more seriously just because, you know, it's recommended to us that we, you know, get STI and HIV screenings and things like that. So, you know, my rainbows and sunshine self like wants to believe that the LGBTQ men are taking their health just that much more seriously, just because, you know, society has told us that, you know, we're going to get AIDS and HIV and things because that was a real life thing at a point in time. As far as like the heterosexual men are concerned, I feel like sometimes they forget to wash their balls. So like, I don't feel like it's not a good thing for them
in school how to wipe
to be honest. They should.
That's a good topic. Well, that goes into us too.
But yeah, and I was doing some research a little bit beforehand because I didn't want to come here.
Oh, Dwayne came prepared when he saw that I had quizzes. So.
Okay, like just a little bit. Just a little bit. I get stressed.
I am
be fun.
failing this quiz. I did not quiz well.
It's gonna be fun. It's just so that we
There's
all
no quiz that's fun. Unless it's like about sex. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, those are fun.
as a nerd and a teacher's pet in school, I am going to disagree. I love quizzes.
But literally, according to this Cleveland clinic that surveyed over 500 men 18 to 70, only 3 in 5 men get annual physicals, and just over 40% go to the doctor when they say they have a.
He's literally using the same resources as me, everyone.
Oh God, I use Google too.
But yes, what Dwayne said is 100% accurate, and we'll get into that a little bit more. But do you think the reason why, especially when we talk about like heteronormative people or cisgendered men, do you think that there's something about masculinity that prevents people from going to the doctor? Daniel, you made a really great point that a lot of times people don't go until like it's bad, right? Until like they feel like, oh shoot, I can't. Vicks isn't going to help this, or a hot shower and some ginger ale isn't going to.
Okay, where's my ginger ale and crackers? It's not working.
Come on, saltines. Yeah. Do you think that has something to do with kind of machismo, hypermasculinity? What do you think?
You know, I can't, from my experience and my observation, I can't necessarily blame it on, you know, toxic masculinity or just the machismo factor. I can say that there are a lot of men that are just afraid because they come from a generation where the generation before them didn't go to the doctor, or they couldn't afford to go to the doctor. And so you had a lot of people that just passed away. Like my dad. My dad is the youngest of 13 kids, and he had to watch his father die of cancer, his mother die of cancer, and almost every sibling he's ever had, with the exception, I think, of 1 or 2 siblings that are still alive, all of them have died from cancer. So my father at 65 is terrified of the doctor. He does not want to go and get this news that, oh, you might have cancer too. However, because my mother is my mother, you know, he's much better. He's way better at going and getting those physicals and getting those checks and whatnot. But for a very, very long time, my dad would not go to the doctor. And I think it was a generational trauma of watching his family go to the doctor, find out something bad, and then they're no longer here. You know, in other cases, I just think, you know, we still have to address this. Like I said, Black and brown communities, there's still a huge disparity when it comes to medical mistrust.
Okay, because slavery.
You know, it's because slavery. So yes. I do think that the masculinity part comes in when they're questioned about why they don't go to the doctor. Then you kind of see that, I'm a man, I don't need to do it. You know,
well, I'm done.
That was so weird to me. Daniel uses that voice because, like, he's so beautiful that you would just never think that's coming.
It's alarming. It's alarming.
I'm an actor. I can do anything. But you know, that's where it comes from. You know, like I always remember hearing about it. I ain't gonna go to no doctor. I'm fine. I ain't gonna be well.
Is this person?
And I'm like, I need to go to the doctor.
That's okay. I can do my dad's voice too.
He's guesting on the show today.
Oh gosh. Dwayne, what about you? What do you think? Do you think masculinity plays a negative part into why people don't go in to see the doctor? Or get health screens?
In my experience as a Black man and being surrounded by Black men in my family, I've seen that it's always been taught to us, like, you know, oh, you know, tough it out, you know, put it like, you know, stick your chest out, like you're fine, you're good, like it's
push-ups.
It's all. I mean, maybe not that.
No, it's too much.
There's some heavy set men in my family, so ain't nobody doing no push-ups.
Rub some dirt in it, then.
You know, yeah, get
some water.
You know, drink some water, get your ginger ale, get your halls. Okay,
this is not ginger ale.
Not your halls. Not your halls.
You know, and you'll be all right. So I think it definitely has masculinity. Definitely has, as well as like I think Black culture and the pressure of being a Black man and having to be the protector and having to be the strong. You know, the backbone, the support, the overarching support of the household. Like, I think it definitely has something to contribute as far as like specifically Black men not going to inquire about their illnesses or even acknowledging that they are sick.
Yeah, and I think I agree and echo kind of both of what you're saying. We even have some really great comments on, a lot of people, especially Black and brown communities, just don't feel like doctors even believe they experience things the same way. We've seen over and over again how, in some medical schools, they teach that Black people feel pain differently, which we know is fake. We know it's false. We know that's horrible, horrible
Which
education.
is also based on a very derogatory and abusive study.
Yeah.
Where they tortured Black folks to discover that Black people have a higher threshold of pain. So that the way that psychological study bleeds into the medical field, and that was done, I think that particular study that I'm thinking about was done probably like in the 30s or the 40s. So it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. So I do think, I personally do think masculinity is definitely a part of it. Dwayne kind of said some of the information I was going to say later about the amount of men who actually do go even to see a doctor.
Coming for your gig, girl.
She is. Passing over the picture with Daniel with facial hair. But with that, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to have some exciting Jeopardy time. So if you're watching, play along with us. See if you answer them correct.
Y'all,
see y'all
the
soon.
beard is kind of fine.
I can't. We'll see you guys soon.
Are you in need of a quick and easy way to know your HIV status? Swab and Chill is a discreet way to learn your status in the comfort of your own home. The process gives you results in 20 minutes. Swab the upper gums, swab the lower gums, and voila! Simply follow the colorful step-by-step instructions located inside the kit. Or call APLA and we can assist you virtually. In addition, all kits include condoms and lube for that penetrative fun. For our trans clients, we have Swab and Chill Plus, a customizable kit for trans-specific needs. And we haven't forgotten about COVID either. All kits include personal protection gear, like face masks, comfortable yet stylish. A personal touch tool for dealing with those germ-infested handles and ATM keypads. Wet wipes for those little messes that need cleaning up. Also, keep that summer body protected with Swab and Chill sunscreen. And don't forget about our fanny packs for those quick trips to the store. All this can be yours. Simply call Swab and Chill at 323-329-9713 or email us at swabandchill@apla.org. We would love for you to be part of our Swab and Chill family.
Come swab and chill with us!
And we are
Because he wants to sit in the chair. Because he wants to sit
Okay,
in the chair.
and we are back. That was a wonderful commercial brought to you by Daniel J. and the Swab
Not
and
brought to
Chill.
you by Daniel J.
Okay.
Wait a
The Swab
minute.
and Chill. So just keep in mind, if you need an HIV test, give us a call. And also, it is trans. We didn't say this earlier. Look at Daniel. We didn't say
because
this
they saw it,
earlier.
I get to share it with y'all. So that's me with
Whoa.
the beard.
We didn't mention it earlier, but this is actually Transgender Awareness Week, and on Saturday is Transgender Day of Remembrance. I'm saying everything wrong today. Which is November 20th. So we do have our Swab and Chill box here, but we do have our Swab and Chill Plus box for trans people as well, which has special items. The box for the Plus is really nice. There's self-defense kits. There's feminine undergarments. There is MAC makeup. And it's good MAC makeup too, y'all.
Good
I
MAC makeup.
saw it earlier and I was like, oh, maybe I need one. But
No, maybe I need one.
I mean, a good lipstick
I
is a
thought
good
about
lipstick.
it. I'm
That
not
lip
gonna
script
lie.
and the eyeliner. But so definitely, if you are interested, if you are a trans person who's looking for an HIV test at home, you can reach out to us and we'll get you straight over to our Trans Connections program, or go to our Facebook and reach out to Rahelio and they will be more than happy to help you. But quiz time. Woo, 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 woo.
You're the only one excited
Dude,
for this
I
time.
know. It's because I don't have to answer the questions because I know the answers. So keeping in line with men's health, the first question I'm going to ask, and this is going to be like rated. What are the 3 major causes for men's death in America? Can you give me one?
Lung cancer.
No. Oh, you're like half. Cancer, yes.
Okay.
It's one of them.
I took a shot in the dark.
You
though.
did. You weren't horrible
Still
wrong.
cancer?
It's still cancer. So we'll say cancers is one.
Okay, cancer.
Okay.
High blood pressure.
You are close. Heart disease.
Okay, I was gonna say cardiovascular problems.
And then the third one is, think really gendered on this one. Why would men die sooner than women? And not because of war.
Low testosterone?
No.
I was like, I don't think that causes death. Like,
Because men are stupid. But accidents. So that is the third leading cause. So the 3 leading causes for men's death in this country, at least, are heart disease, cancers, and then just involuntary accidents, things like that. Men, we have a little bit more risk-taking behavior than maybe someone who is more feminine presenting. So those are the 3 things. So now let's talk about, because No Shave November is based on cancer. Can you all name probably the 2 highest rating types of cancers in men? And if you're at home, oh, come on. Colorectal, and you said prostate? So you're kind of close. So one of them being testicular cancer, and the other one is a prostate cancer. Prostate cancer is actually the leading cause of cancer for any men in the country.
This is a
they
little
want to do
tidbit.
that gay stuff.
In reference to testicular cancer, there is also No Nut November that occurs this month.
Who doing that?
So for men who want to abstain from masturbating and sex for the month of November, they also do that in recognition and in solidarity for those who either have or have passed from testicular cancer.
We're really, really sex positive here, so we never tell people not to have sex. But if you were doing that, that is a great.
You don't have to have sex to nut.
The whole point is the retention of your semen. That's the point.
But yeah, so that's.
So if you edge, honey, you're in the game.
Okay, look,
but not being able
if
to.
your thing, get in there.
And me trying not to out myself. But yes, so that is definitely. So let's talk about testicular cancer, because I think a lot of times we as people with testicles, we're always told from a very, very young age to kind of check yourself. And I don't feel like men or people with testicles check enough.
Well, how do you check your balls, Ty?
You just kind of feel around in them. You feel them. You just put your hand on them and you feel them. And if something feels.
So this is what you're feeling for when you're.
You shouldn't be feeling any kind of different kind of lump or any kind of swelling.
Like.
So just anything that feels out of the ordinary.
Generally, your testicles are they're firm, but they're also very soft within your scrotum,
like
sac. Okay. So if you're feeling around and you're literally just feeling them in your hands, if you feel any type of extra hardness in your testicles, if you feel any type of bumps in your testicles, that's probably something that you want to go get checked, because that is not normal. Your testicles should feel smooth to the touch when they're in your hands, and they should also feel a little, almost like when you squeeze a peach, how it's firm, but it still has that kind of like little give in it.
Fleshy.
Your nuts should feel like that.
Okay, so how hard is too hard, Daniel?
If it hurts,
if
girl.
we're using. Well, no, but I mean, as far as like the texture of it, like if we're
like a peach, like like when you hold a peach in your hand, or an avocado, how it's firm, but it still has that give when it's right.
And I would say always, if you're at home and if this is like, well, I don't know, if it feels weird or feels a little out of the ordinary, it's the perfect time to go see your doctor and just kind of ask, because I think that's the best way to do it. If you don't know, go ask. So this leads me to my next question. Who is most likely, or who has the highest rates of testicular cancer in the country? Keeping in mind, testicular cancer is actually a very small portion of people who get cancer. Only about 1% of men or people with external genitals actually get testicular cancer. but do you know who's most likely to get it? And this is in age ways, not in race.
Okay, got it.
I know. It's like short answer. I'm not
Is
even
it
giving a
like
multiple
a
choice.
So you said an age? What's
Yeah,
the-
give me an age range. At any age range you want.
I would say between 25 and 40.
Okay.
I'm going to say between 35 and 60.
Okay. So Daniel hit the very edge of it at 35, and Dwayne had a little bit more. So it's actually between the ages of 15 and 34. We're seeing the most rates of new testicular cancer. And so this might be like kind of a wake-up call for especially people out there with external genitals, testicles, because you really don't think about it. I was not 15 years old checking. I was not 21 years old checking.
That's not what I was checking for. Okay, I was.
And especially around those times, we definitely are using our genitals a little bit more. But it is one of those things. We talk to people with breasts and things like that to always make sure to check. We really inform people with vaginas and breasts and things like that to go see their doctors for these sexual health. But we're not doing it so much for men. It's like just test at home and hopefully it's okay. So yeah. That is that. So that's a really big thing. And also something, because I'm going to stick in the realm of cancer for just in this moment, HIV and cancer. What a lot of people don't realize who are HIV positive is that actually puts you at risk for a higher rate risk for cancer. So if you are someone who is HIV positive, it is that much more important for you to be screened regularly. People who are HIV positive are 500 times more likely to develop certain types of cancer. And that's huge. It's really big. And some other types, and I don't have it because I have so many things, but it's just one of those things because other kind of conditions affect it. And as we work in HIV, that's something really important. So if you are someone who's living with HIV, we know you're seeing your doctor, or we hope you're seeing your doctor at least once every year. So please make sure that you are also getting regular blood checks for other things besides your viral load. And this is for everyone out there too. Go see the doctor once a year. Get a physical. Those are the easiest, quickest way because it leads to, our number one cause for men's death is heart disease. And then when we get into that, we know specifically people of color are at risk of heart disease so much more. To the point when, do you know what is the minimum age range for people with heart disease? 20.
Oh.
At the age of 20, men are that much more at risk. And it is specifically because of Black and brown communities have a really high rate of heart disease. And that is a factor of a couple different things.
Because the white folks be stressing us out.
Not so much. Stress is definitely a thing, but it's other things that contribute to it.
You is a whole masculine.
Things like diet are a really big factor. And we know with this one is because of social economics, what we can and can't afford for food, things like that, going to see the doctor, exercise. Sometimes in Black and brown households, exercise isn't as enforced because it's one of those things. I'm working all day. I've got other things to worry about. I don't want to go to the gym. So that's something to keep in mind. So now.
See? Joseph, no.
Stressing us out.
I mean, I'm not just agreeing with you.
We're just not going to say that. So now here's my question for you. If you had to give a percentage over men over the age of 20, what percent of them are listed as obese?
Oh, I would say at least 75 to 80.
Oh, wow.
60%.
Wow, you two are just saying everyone is unhealthy. And you're not like 100% wrong. It's actually 40%. So 40% of our men over the age of 20 are listed as clinically obese. That's a big number. Especially when we think about, deaths in America for men. 1 in 4 men die of a heart attack or a heart disease in America. That's huge. And things like obesity, diet, all kind of common factors. Studies show men are less likely to go grocery shopping and eat fruits and vegetables than women are.
It's true. I don't like to go to the grocery store.
Look, I use Amazon Prime. Or not Prime.
Exactly. Amazon Fresh. Okay.
Look, it's nice.
It is.
But it is one of those things, as I say, burn down Amazon and big corporations are horrible. But it is one of those things we definitely are not, I think, always taking care of ourselves. So now let's go. We talked about the physical health. Let's talk about mental health. And this definitely goes into the Mow-Vember kind of category, where it's also about suicide awareness, things in mental health. In your question time, in your opinion.
Hi, real quick. I just want to know, what does the Mo stand for? Because y'all have been saying it all episode, and
Let me pull up one of my things. While I find that answer and why they call it Mo, because I have website stuff. What would you say? What is the percentage of men that have experienced depression in their life, or a number or
That
percentage
can identify it, or
Yeah.
that have been clinically.
that have been identified? So keeping in mind there might be outliers and people who aren't reporting things like that, but just what the numbers show right now.
I'm gonna say 25 to 30%.
I was gonna say 35%. Yeah.
You two are actually really, really close. 1 in 3 men, so about 30% of men actually experience depression or are diagnosed with some kind of clinical depression in their lifetimes. But it's one of those things, how come we don't hear about men always talking about depression? Why is depression always kind of pushed off on feminine presenting or feminine people? And it's one of those conversations we don't
I think
have.
that's where when we talk about like toxic masculinity and machismo, I think that's really where it comes in. Because when you think about depression, you know, most people attach adjectives like weak, you know, insecure, oversensitivity. You know, they attach those.
Not
kind of-
oversensitive.
Right, they attach those things to it in a very negative connotation. And I don't know any man that necessarily wants to feel or think that he is weak and you know, too sensitive.
Well, I don't even think there's that, y'all, because a lot of men are so wrapped up in the whole masculine thing that they don't even acknowledge the fact that they're sad. They mask it as anger. Like a lot of the time, it's just, oh, I'm so bad. Like I can hit somebody right now. Oh my god.
And they just
To
don't
be
know they need
crying
a
and
hug.
everything, and still just be like, get off me, bro. What's going on?
And I think that's actually a really, really great point too. When we talk about emotional education, we don't really teach little boys or masculine presenting children about emotions. It's the feminine presenting who get those education on this is what emotions are. We talk about our feelings. And what's scary about that is when we look at the suicide rates, teenage boys have the highest rates of suicide in the country. And yet, for some reason, we still aren't having these big, grand conversations around, you know, men and mental health. And we're definitely seeing it more as we're seeing mental health being normalized. So definitely, I would say probably in the next 10 to 15 years, I would be very shocked if these numbers didn't change. But I just hope it happens soon enough, you know? What do y'all think about the way mental health has shifted to really target men? Do you think it's doing enough, or do you think there should be more?
Well, I have a very negative, not negative. I have a worry about the way that mental health is now presented.
Okay.
Because I think that yes, yay, we are in an era and in a time where mental health has become more, you know, normalized as far as the conversation. But the term mental health, I think, still is very stigmatized. To if you talk about mental health, you have a mental health issue.
Right.
We don't look at mental health like we do physical health. Like it's nothing for us to say, "Oh, I'm going to the gym." We don't question people who go to the gym. But if you say I'm going to therapy,
I'm doing shadow work today,
right? Or I'm going to therapy, or I'm doing whatever, we tend to give them like the side eye, like, okay. Because I know, especially in the Black community, I know people who advocate for therapy but won't go.
Oh no, that's not me.
So you know, so I think that there's still a longer way to go to really normalize the idea that mental health is just that. It's the things that you have to do to keep yourself healthy in a mental space. The same thing you have to do with your emotions, the same thing you have to do with your psyche and your body. Like these are all things and tools and techniques to keep you healthy. But I do think that mental health has come a longer way than it used to be. But I do still feel like it's very much still stigmatized.
But I feel like to deconstruct that is to deconstruct teaching masculine presenting folks from an early age to deny their feelings, you know, to be dishonest, to honestly, eternally dishonest, to be dishonest with themselves, you know, to go to therapy and to see a counselor or to even speak with someone about how you're feeling is to be honest and to be vulnerable. And I think from an earlier age, we're not taught that. We're taught to lie. We're taught to be okay. We're taught that what we're feeling is not what we're feeling. So it's just a lot of conditioning that would have to be broken down before like this new generation of masculine presenting folks are even ready to admit to themselves that they might need to talk to a professional.
Yeah, and I think too, kind of going off a little bit of both what you're saying, especially, and I can only speak in terms of, my relationship with my father. Growing up, I had my father very privileged in the medical field, but he still isn't a big mental health fan. And I think a lot of times in Black families, Black communities, we're told you don't tell people your business like that. What happens at home stays at home. If you got to tell someone, you go to the church and you can have a conversation with the pastor if things get real bad. But if not,
who's having 12 affairs and six babies in the church?
People who aren't qualified to tell you how to do anything.
Yeah, that's the person I'm going to go to for mental health.
But it is kind of one of those conversations. But I will say lately, and once again, we're seeing Black women kind of lead this charge because we know Black women, the world revolves around them because they are the leaders in everything good and positive that happens. We're seeing a lot more Black women, take advantage of mental health services and going. So now we are starting to see Black men also kind of recognizing that, hey, we got to do the work too. We have to address some things. So I'm hoping, in the next 5 to 10 years, it becomes more. But I do think there's generations of trauma. There's generations of, concerns and ideas on who you can trust, who you can't trust. And also just finding therapists who are equipped to work with Black people. Because even, us working with mental health professionals, we can tell you sometimes it's really hard to find a mental health provider who is POC. Sometimes it's really hard to find a mental health provider who understands queer identity or is queer.
Trying to find both of those is something else.
Sometimes it's really hard to find a mental health professional that isn't an old white man. And that is, for a lot of us, it's not comfortable. So
it will never be comfortable.
So I will say, within the next 5-10 years, as we see, when I look back on my graduating class for psychology, we had a large POC kind of representation and everyone wanted to be therapists. So, I hope they all did. I didn't become a therapist, but I hope a lot of them did.
They better use each other as resources.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. If they're not actually a therapist, just because they have a psychology degree doesn't make them a therapist. Trust me. I'll give you horrible advice.
I'm just saying, if they're going to become therapists, it's great to have all these people of color as therapists, but even therapists need therapists.
Oh, yes. But yeah, so we are kind of coming down to the end. Today was a kind of one of those big talks, just in general, overview on men's health. I want to hear from both of you. Your takeaway when you go out into the world for the month of November and you are in a space and people are talking about men's health. What things do you want them to be really kind of aware of, or what do you want them to kind of really think about when we're talking to have these conversations about health, in particular with men and masculine presenting people? Because, and I know I'm so upset. I'm going to open a whole can of worms. Because when we talk about trans men's health too, that is, I know
all the way on.
So, but just keep in mind, and that actually will be a really great conversation that we'll be having later on in the month. When we talk about trans health, but when we talk about trans men's health, there's a whole nother kind of avenue of services that aren't being provided effectively. Okay. But what do you two think in general, overall men's health? How do we want people to really start thinking and having these conversations? I know. I talk so much.
Just honestly, and vulnerably, I think it's very important to really sit with yourself and learn what accountability means for you. Because if you are able to be accountable for your actions, you're able to be honest with yourself, which means you can be honest with somebody else. I think in a nutshell, we really have to start asking ourselves, am I really mad, or am I feeling this emotion? Really evaluate your emotions. Go down the list, because you have more than just 2 or 3. You have more than happy, horny, and angry.
I don't know.
I think my hope for men's health and the conversation surrounding it is that men understand that being healthy is not just an idea, that it's not just something for everyone else. We all have things that we want to do as men. We have, businesses that we want to create, families that we want to create, legacies that we want to create. And I think all of us want to be around long enough to see them come into fruition. And we can't do that if our health is not together, if we are not physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally healthy. And so I really hope that as we progress in our society and in our communities, specifically Black and Brown communities, that the conversation becomes normalized in the way that a man can talk about depression without his manhood being questioned, that a man can talk about being vulnerable or have a moment of emotional sensitivity without being looked at as weak. And a lot of that has to do with the village surrounding him, not just him.
And then for me, my final word would be just for people to recognize that you are the expert of your body. No one is ever going to tell you that. But you also have to recognize, because just because you live in your body every single day doesn't mean you know everything that's happening. There's a lot of things, and take this from someone who's literally in a anatomy and physiology class right now. The things I find out our bodies do and change and all that is amazing. Our body is the most complex thing I've ever seen, heard, or learned about. There are things we're just not going to know because I don't feel well or I feel fine. There's things that may not show symptoms. So that's why it's super important once a year, y'all. Just if you can, see a provider once a year. Just get regular blood work. You know, we always encourage, you know, your sexual health, you should be getting tested at least once a year too. So if you're going to get your HIV, STI test done yearly, you know, get regular blood tests. Get your heart rate and your blood pressure checked. All of those kind of confirmatory things. And for Black men, is specifically starting at the age around 45, start talking to your doctors about prostate checks. But with that, we're gonna
not gay. It's health.
It's health, y'all. And I mean, the prostate stimulation is going to give you the best orgasms you've ever heard or ever
And
had.
that's not gay either.
That's just real. But with that, we're going to say thank you all so much for joining us. Join us next week for our special Friendsgiving episode, where we're going to bring back some people that you haven't seen in a while. Check up on some of the APLA health staff, what their programs are doing, what they're doing.
I might be here with a turkey leg. You just never know.
Or a beard.
Like a beard. I think like a beard, not at work, girl. But with that, everyone have a wonderful and safe Tuesday. Schedule an appointment with your doctor. Get your blood pressure checked, and we'll see you next week. Bye.